We got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown. Because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. And yep, we got another one to talk about. The rare Friday night episode here. Well, yeah, I mean, if you've been following along in recruiting, you've been on social media the last couple of days, yeah, you knew this was coming. But KJ Ford committing to the Gators, big-time edge prospect, a big boy battle on the recruiting trail, and the Gators come out on top on this one. A little bit of drama leading up to this one. Maybe some of it manufactured, but it was drama nevertheless for most of you out there following this one. So Gators get their guy. Gators get their guy right here with edge player KJ Ford commit to the Gators. We're going to get into it like we always do for every commit here, talking about what we'll go through. You know, their rankings, their film, the analysis from the recruiting experts out there. We're going to get all into it right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Everybody, thanks for hopping on the rare Friday night episode. So, Harrison Sanchez, Gators boy, stay hot. Thanks for hopping in. Austin Harler, great pickup, sure is. Cody Moore saying, let's see, go Gators, and yeah, BAMA thoughts. Yeah, so there we go. So, Harrison, what do you mean? David just stopped the esoteric bomb. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that one, but maybe I'm not following along there. But not to explain that one to you. Might be a little slow on that one. Ernest Cobb says, "Let's go, great win on the trail, for sure." So, and Kempo Karate, Gators. I like it. Everybody, for real. Thanks for hopping in. I know there's a lot of you can be watching other shows out there. Our good friends, High Top, of course. I know they had a watch party. They're probably still on live. I'm not really sure. I know Silk's doing his thing tonight too with Logo Talk. So you got this covered from a lot of angles. So if you're in here, I certainly send a sincere thank you for hopping on right here with us, catching it live. If you're catching the replay, thank you as well. Right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. If you're right here on YouTube, throw the okay, I got you, Harrison. Hit that like button. It really, really helps us out. Of course, leave some comments. Subscribe right here on YouTube or your podcast platform. You're listening to it right now as well. Harrison says, yeah. You used the word manufactured about the drama. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. We'll get into it. I'll try and dive into it a little bit more in just a second. So, Steven says, Gator Dave, what's up? And hey, what's up, Steven? And Jonathan Clemens, yes, sir. Go Gators. So, hey, lots to like about this one for sure. But we're going to get into it. Hey, reminder, hopefully this is a popular episode, so it gets the word out there even more. The Independent Gator Media Day, July 27th, guys, just a couple of weeks away. Presented by the Sachs Law Group. Live media panel right here with us, right here at Gators Breakdown, High Top Sports, Stadium and Gale. We'll have some special guests, meet and greet players. Vernell Brown III, Grayson Pup Howard, Jacoby Jackson, Jaden Robinson, Hilton Drake Stubbs, Trayon Webb, Jaden Woods, right there, July 27th, 2 p.m., First Magnitude Brewing Company in Gainesville. Link is in the description for the tickets. Would love to see you there. Let's see. All right. Are we going there next? I guess we can. I guess I got all the housekeeping out of the way. I'm back on StreamYard now, so that works. I can bring back the old intro art for when we get the commits, talking about commits. But here we go, Gator Nation. Yep, we got a commit to talk about. It is KJ Ford, a 4-star on the major services out there at the edge position. Florida sees him being able to play the jack spot, the F edge spot over there, so he can move around a little bit. He can move around a little bit at these edge spots. Remember, for Florida to get that edge spot kind of designated into 2 spots, the F, which is still your standard defensive end, hand in the dirt, or the jack, the outside linebacker, the stand-up position for the edge spot. They think KJ Ford can play both. He comes in as the 116th overall player in the country on both services. On 24/7 Sports, he is the 15th edge player in the country and the 17th ranked player out of the state of Texas. As I said, he's 116 overall in the on-3 industry as well. He's the 18th edge player and the 18th player in the state of Texas. Checks in 6'3", 245 pounds. You love that size right there coming. I mean, you ain't got much more to do on the physique. He could thicken up a little bit, put the weight on a little bit, but man, I mean, he's gonna come in. He don't have to have too much work. He don't have to have too much work done. But as I said, we'll get into the drama the last couple of days. It's been polarizing in the last day or so. There's been Twitter spats and people getting mad because he got crystal balled to Alabama and, Florida's losing him. And, man, it got ugly out there. Those Twitter streets were getting pretty bad on Thursday and Friday. Florida had been trending for a while coming in. But we had known, if you follow this one a good bit, the NIL was going to play a factor. It was going to play into the decision here. And Florida, from the get-go now, went into this one with with an on-field plan, with an NIL plan. So not long ago, Ford announced a finalist of his 3 schools that included Florida, Ohio State, and Texas A&M. When that happened, many believed it was more of a Gators versus Buckeyes battle. But there was another program out there kind of lurking around. Ford had some interest in them, but they were kind of just lurking. That wasn't in the final 3 that Ford announced, and that was Alabama. The interest on both sides. And it even went as far. If you guys missed this, if you just want to rehash it, we'll go rehash it. It even went as far on Thursday as, on 3, Steve Wiltfong dropped a prediction for Alabama. Several Alabama writers followed suit. Well, I made some calls because, of course I noticed it. I actually started hearing about it before the Fong pick came in and all those other followed suit. I started hearing about it. Then all that came out. So I made some phone calls here. And I'm not going to, not going to jump off a ledge. Rather, let's get some info first. And we started making some phone calls before any kind of reaction was coming out. And Florida still felt good. And was still making sure that this one was going to get done. I tweeted my usual roller coaster gif on social media after those calls and simply stated, we'll see what happens. Because I knew the Florida side still felt good. And of course, that has bitten me in the past. We all remember Cormani McClain, Avante Williams. We all remember those kind of commitments. So it's not ever 100%. And the same people who were feeling good were the same people who were feeling good then as well. But after the calls, felt really good about this one, given some more explanation. So look, and of course, it's going to slant towards Florida. My sources are Florida. I got some at other schools as well, but to get some kind of information, but nowhere near like I do at Florida. But it did seem like Thursday's information was coming from the BAMA side for many to feel confident in making a prediction for Ford to BAMA. I'll just say, could it have been manufactured? Because all the talk leading up to today and to tonight was Florida, 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 Florida. Was it manufactured to create some drama that really wasn't there? Reading the tea leaves on this, I think you can buy that story. Then we get to this morning, and what do we have, of course? Steve Wiltfong switches his prediction back to the Gators. And look, I simply do not believe this was Ford changing his mind. I think it was just as simple as a miscommunication, straight up bad information from the Bama side of things. I do think they were pushing hard, but Florida gets the big win here. And of course, being from Texas A&M in the mix, but off-field assistant. When you're talking Texas guys, when you're talking Texas recruits, you're not going to get far before you start talking about off-field assistant Joe Hamilton. He shows up big in this one, just like he does in all the Texas recruitments. Big asset for Florida. It was big to get him back from Texas A&M. Florida's had a pretty good run of Texas guys. Of course, DJ Lagway headlining that. over the last couple of years because of Joe Hamilton. He's a big reason to that. He helps get this one done as well. And the chance to play early. You know, no lie. This one was explained to me as the staff, quote, had Ford at or near the top of the board. That's what this staff did. So him being from Texas, having Joe Hamilton help in that regard, the need at his position, the ability to sell that need into early playing time, and Florida's priority of him, Florida having him, quote now, at or near the top of their board. That's how Florida came out on top of this one. And I'm not going to shy away from it. NIL too. Florida had all the talk of, Florida won't pay this, Florida won't pay that. No, sorry. To get guys over Bama, to get guys over Ohio State, you're going to have to come up with a wallet. We know that's the name of the game now. All those other things I mentioned, plus the NIL, that's how Florida got this one done. And what a big get. So on talking with Ford and talking with the staff and how he'll be used, the staff told him, quote, and this is coming from Ford, they have already given me a good idea of my fit there. And we talked about this on past visits. And he was talking to Gators Online with this. He was on the official visit. We talked some more about my fit and how much of a priority I am for them. They show me that time and time again, since they started to recruit me, about how big of a priority he is. They think I can play the Jack and the F. How having me would give them a true pass rusher on the team. Be someone who can play early is their emphasis since they have guys leaving. They say my ability to stand up but also be able to put my hand in the dirt can help me get on the field early. They said that ability makes me a priority. They've kept on their word on how that makes me a priority. They've not slowed down on me so I can see what they mean. What they say. There you go. I mean, it was a combination of things to get this one done. He finished his junior season with 57 tackles. Get this now. 57 tackles, 16 tackles for loss. 16 tackles for loss out of 57 with 57 tackles. 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble return, 15 hurries. He helped Duncanville there in Texas reach the Texas 6A D1 state finals. And as a sophomore in 2023, logged extensive snaps at defensive end and helping Duncanville to a second consecutive Texas 6A D1 state championship. As a sophomore, 54 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble returns, one of those being a touchdown, and 18 hurries. So how do those stats translate? Where do those stats come from? Let's take a look at the film. If you're watching the YouTube version, of course, you can watch it. If not, come back around and watch it. If you're doing the podcast version, because you get a treat here. There's some pretty good highlights right here with KJ Ford. Corey Bender, let's start with him from Gators Online. Quote, the 4-star prospect is just known for his burst and twitch, and his junior film backs up the hype. Ford's first step quickness is one of the biggest strengths. He consistently beats offensive tackles out of their stance and immediately puts pressure on the quarterback. His timing is excellent, and he plays with urgency from snap to finish. The way he jumps the snap and covers ground in a hurry is exactly what you want in a modern-day edge. Even when the play isn't coming to his side, he's already in the backfield causing disruption. Checking in at roughly 6'4", 245, Ford has an ideal frame for the edge defender in the SEC. He's got long arms, lean muscle, and impressive flexibility when bending the edge. On tape, he flashes the ability to dip low and flatten his path to the quarterback, a strong trait at his position. As he continues to grow physically, his build gives him a lot of long-term upside. The tools are all there. One of Ford's best traits is how hard he plays. The motor is always on, he flies to the ball, he never gives up on a play, and makes impact plays even when he's initially slowed down. Whether it's backside pursuit, chasing a scrambling quarterback, or fighting through double teams, Ford shows the type of effort that can elevate a defense. Coaches don't have to teach that. It's natural with him. While Ford is already producing big plays, there's plenty of room to grow. Right now, he wins with speed, burst, and natural movement, But at the next level, he will need to expand his toolbox and improve hand usage. Adding more functional strength will also help him anchor against the run and handle bigger linemen. Ford has time to develop though, and Florida staff believes he could be a difference maker. The Gators needed a high-end pass rusher in this class, and that's exactly what they got. That coming from Corey Bender of Gators Online. Let's go to the other recruiting service out there, 24/7 Sports, and Gabe Brooks. And now he has had a couple of evaluations for Ford throughout the last couple of years. Let's go to the most recent one back in June. He offered a well-rounded classic defensive end with sneaky size and requisite length. May most appropriately embody a traditional 3.43 end, primarily aligned as a 7-tech. That said, likely a potentially scheme-versatile edge who could also provide valuable snaps as a hybrid 2.34 rusher. Uses leverage and sudden point of attack strength to affect the run game, still developing consistent bend and dip flexibility, but flashes arc running ability as a rusher. Also shows some promising stack and shed power against larger foes. Under Armour Dallas Regional in February 2025 reinforced belief in point of attack quickness and speed to power abilities that often knock offensive linemen to their heels in one-on-one exposure. Projects to a high major level as a potential multi-year starter with long-term pro upside. And then in 2024, go back year and a half or so, and let's start those over. Back in 2024, he offered this one. So this would have been after his sophomore season. Following a debut sophomore season for Texas Class 6A Division I state champions, he looks like a classic 4-3 end who's comfortable playing with his hand on the ground and possesses the frame capacity to fill a wide defensive end or strong defensive end role in the long term. Flashes stack and shed strength at the point of attack. Has some power in his hands to jar blockers, particularly in the run game. Shows arc running instincts and corresponding functional athleticism as a pass rusher. Makes plays with physical tools and motor alike. Segmented mover who's still developing fluidity and body control, as well as consistency in snap anticipation. Early returns reveal a high major frontline edge defender who can stay on the field in all situations. So as a sophomore, was starting to get the love that he can be a major frontline edge defender. And you see it here. I mean, it's exactly what you want. If you're going to describe disruption, that's what you want. And that play right there is fighting through double teams, not giving up on a play. But the tracking speed, the disruption. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I mean, that's what you want here. And playing the run there well too. Not just about getting to the quarterback, of course. How many times have we watched defensive ends, edge rushers at Florida, not be able to play the run well? It's not setting the edge, wanting to go get the quarterback time after time after time. And what I like too, and here even in his highlights at Duncanville, showing him standing up, showing him with his hand in the dirt. Big time get for the Gators right here. Big time get. All right. There's the analysis of one KJ Ford. Big get. And you had to overcome powers like Ohio State and BAMA. And somewhat of a roller coaster the last couple of days, at least publicly. And it's been a roller coaster for Florida with the defensive line and edge recruiting. I think that was another reason it kind of blew up on Thursday. No, don't get me wrong. If the Alabama stuff had been true, some of what happened on Thursday is explainable and excusable. Getting upset. No, don't get me wrong. I know both sides of the equation. It is July. But if you're going to, you can celebrate the commits. If you're going to get mad that somebody else gets commits in July, well, be happy that you get one in July. But if you don't get it, I get the argument. It is only July. Let's see I will ultimately, myself, wait till we'll see what this thing looks like in December. We know how fast it all can change, good or bad. We've seen it with this staff, good or bad. How a good class can fall apart and how a bad class can be saved. We've seen it all. But I got some of the reactions when it was, quote unquote, looking like he was maybe going to Alabama instead of Florida. And part of it is because the roller coaster it has been so far for defensive line and edge recruiting this cycle for Florida. It's been an adventure. Remember, Trenton Henderson, he committed to Texas. Preston Carey committed to Georgia. Jake Krull left out Florida out of his final 3 this week. So with the commitment today coming up for Ford, it had to get done. It needed to get done. Just to mention those storylines, and then you get on, on the heels of all that, it was, well, maybe now Ford's looking like Alabama. So yeah, there was some right to be upset with that news. But at the same time, I tried to calm down the masses a little bit with the tweet. I said, well, let's see what happens. Like if I won't say much. Like if it's and you guys probably have picked up on it. If I might give subtle hints. But, with this one, it was the roller coaster gift. That's well, let's see what happens. I was trying to give a little inclination to that. I didn't think it was so much Bama as what we were hearing. And then, a day later, Friday morning, you started getting the switch from Alabama to Florida. But yeah, it's been an adventure up front. Now it's just the edge players. Defensive line, the Gators have pulled in Kendall Guervil, but recently lost a commitment from J.J. Perez to Ohio State. So you still got work to do there. Valdon Sonnet continues to be the target, but Georgia seems like to be the school to watch. But you've been able to pivot pretty good. Getting Kendall Guervil recently, now KJ Ford, throw in JaReylan McCoy. Pretty good foundation for everything that's happened at the edge and the defensive line spot. Like what you got in here. So Ford becomes the 17th commit for the Gators class. As I said, joins the defensive front class right now that consists of Kendall Guervil on the interior and JaReylan McCoy as the other edge player. The Gators are now 15th on the 24/7 Sports composite team ranking. Should have been passing just barely Penn State for 15th right now. Oh, all right. More recruiting storylines, and I'll get to some comments before I sign off for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I don't know if you guys caught the news or not, but on this Friday, 4-star linebacker from IMG, DQ Forkpa, is no longer making his decision tomorrow. He had it set up for Saturday, trending Florida. Now he's delaying his commitment. As I said, was looking good, but if it was going to be made tomorrow, Florida would be the pick. But Florida State trying to get in some more, but even more so Michigan. Michigan making a big move now for Forkpa, at least in the vein of making him rethink, making him slow down his decision. Originally from Georgia, we'll see if proximity wins out or not, or do the Wolverines press all the right buttons. He mentions he wants to take all the visits in the fall to Florida, Florida State, and Michigan, and then make his decision. So remember, Florida just recently picked up a commitment from linebacker Malik Morris, and then there's still the possibility of Isaiah Williams ends up back in the class if maybe some things shake the right way. So there's your storyline at linebacker right now. But yeah, thoughts on Saturday, we're about to add number 2 in the linebacker room, but DQ Forkpa is now going to delay his decision. For the other commitment that is to take place tomorrow on Saturday, tight end Heezy Kent. For now, as far as we know, he's going to commit on Saturday. I still lean Florida for this one. And look, I've asked around a bit. I know there's been some talk on social media as well on if he'll play tight end, if Florida will take 3 tight ends, but if he's going to play tight end or offensive line. I'm not so sure. Eventually he doesn't end up as an offensive tackle, but I reached out to a source today, close to the program. They tell me it's tight end for Kent. Recruit him as a tight end. Apparently, that's what other schools are pitching when it comes. And at one time, maybe they were still figuring it out, tight end or offensive line. Now, look, for Florida's offense, of course, tight ends used to block a lot, so he could be an asset there, while still needing to be able to be a pass catcher at 300 pounds. That's where the question comes in. I mean, he's 300 pounds. So you really got to throw 300-pound tight end out there. We'll see. He is athletic. Go watch the film. If he commits to Florida, we'll be looking at it tomorrow all together. Can you do that at the next level? That would be the question. But he does show some great ability for that big size. Took his visit earlier this summer when Florida was leading, and I just feel like they extended the lead and made it, harder for anyone else to overcome after that visit. Some talk of FSU maybe trying to get in more here. I don't see it the day before the decision, as we're sitting here at 9:30 to Friday night. I think he's deciding at 3 o'clock, around 3 o'clock on Saturday. My prediction is Florida right now. And initially tied in. As I said, at that size, it's hard not to imagine him eventually growing into an offensive lineman, but we'll see. We'll see. If Florida wants him at tight end, and then he wants to play tight end, then we'll see what the future holds. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, pick it to the comments right here. There we go. Chase Campbell. Something that can't be glossed over is winning recruitment over big boys like Ohio State, A&M, and BAMA, like it should be. You're right. That is like it should be. When you're not going to win most of these battles, but you got to start chipping away. You got to start getting your fair share of them. And with Guervil and now Ford, you throw Texas in the mix there with Guervil. So yeah, teams that have recruited at the elite level, you've had some wins. L. Wolf says, and yep, we'll figure out where this one goes. Got a good one, but need 2 interior defensive linemen. Yeah, we'll see where the band. I think first of all, Florida still wants to try and be in the mix for flipping guys down the road. Some of the targets that they've lost out on along the defensive line. Vaughn Sone, we talked about him. I think may expand the board, but I'd be surprised if Florida reaches. Let the season play out and see what happens with some of the targets that, the big names that have already committed elsewhere. So I don't think you'll see a lot of reaching there until maybe late in the cycle if Florida has to do it. Bson 0715, Gator boys stay hot. Billy the Goat shoving other coaches in a locker. South Florida Don, nice beating Ohio State and Bama. Courtney says, go Gators. South Florida Don, and again, beast mode. Yeah, I'm telling you, that film's fun to watch. And one more time, big thanks, South Florida Don. Smash that like button, people. Don't forget that part. Captain Tripp says, game over. And Damon Yates does bring up a good point. Dude is a specimen for an edge, in my opinion. I'm saying. Florida's pitching him on playing early. Well, you know what? You got to have the physique and size, especially at that spot. You're coming in from high school, and you want to play right away. Well, you got to be near the size to even be considered to play early. That's not a position, it's not a skill position where you're not going to get hit, where you can outrun a lot of people. You've got to have some size to you. You got to have a physique to you. You ain't just rolling in there all lanky and expect to go have some success. No, so 245 already. Yeah, he ain't got much more to go before he's gonna be stepping on the field as a freshman. As long as he does the things that he's supposed to do and takes care of the film study and getting ready. But the physical part of it, and he'll have a little bit of strength and conditioning program before he's ready to step on the field as a freshman. He ain't got long to go. Captain Tripp says, I'm excited. We should be. Let's go, let's go, let's go. From Rob S. Brad Dugan. Brad, I'll come back to this maybe tomorrow, hopefully after a Heezy Kent commitment video on top priority flip targets. That was something I had kind of planned anyway, was kind of take a whole class look because after Kent, there's not really many scheduled visits or scheduled commitment times. We had this one scheduled for a Friday night. We got Kent scheduled for Friday. There's many more targets out there that we think are trending Florida who might have decisions coming up soon, but we don't know the exact dates. So I thought it was going to be a good time to kind of not really hit a reset button, but take an overall look at the class again. So hopefully we're back again talking about another commitment there for Heezy Kent. If not, I will come back to that at some point. But I will try to save it for that one. JLB says, "Let's go, Dave." Robert Post, "Dave, hey, we got to commit." Justin Kane says, "Top 5, here we go." I still don't know if I see top 5. Still don't know if I see that. Get me top 7, top 8, and I'm okay. And don't get me wrong, I'd like higher than that. Hard for me to see top 5. We'll see what type of season Florida has. I mean, I'm saying as it stands right now, and I'm expecting a pretty good season for Florida, so maybe it is there when it's all said and done. All right, a couple more here. Harrison Sanchez, Guervil, McCoy, Ford. That is a serious haul. I like to start. I mean, like I said, we'll probably got to add another interior guy. But yeah. Cody Moore, I'm assuming talking about Heezy Kent. He's a tight end and not an offensive tackle. Look, I know he's listed at offensive tackle. I know he's got the size to play offensive tackle. But I made sure, and the person I reached out to and the person I asked, they said tight end. And believe me, that person, just take my word for it, that's the person you want to be hearing that info from. So I'll leave it at that. I can't put it out there, but just believe me on it. Harrison Sanchez, Sneed, come on down. Yeah, Carson Sneed there. We're going to talk about flips right quick. And we'll talk about tight end position a little bit. Carson Sneed, Tennessee tight end commit. Maybe on flip watch. Cody Moore does ask, do you predict we finish top 10 in recruiting? I'll say yes, barely. I'm somewhere in that 8 to 12 range. I'm not really trying to take an easy way out right there. That might be, but that's likely where I see it. I'll go to the top end of that right now, just because I do expect a good season. All right, guys. Thank you much. Hopping in. Friday night episode right here at Gators Breakdown. Can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough for all the support and all that good stuff. On vacation next week. But so maybe there will be commits. You know how that goes. But I'll have another episode. It'll be a pre-recorded episode with some nice topics about make or break players this season for the Gators. And get players that deserve more respect. So be on the lookout for that this coming up week on Gators Breakdown. All right, everybody. Hopefully we're back on Saturday talking about another commitment. But that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. I'm your host of David Waters. That's what I was about to say. I'm your host, David Waters, right here on Gators Breakdown. Everybody, hey, let's get back together again pretty soon.